guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am taking you to New York City and we are going to visit two bookstores. So let's go. So the first bookstore that we're going to is called McNally Jackson. Now, McNally Jackson has several branches throughout the city, and the one we're going to is called the Seaport branch. So this is located in the financial district, and on our way there, we are going to walk by the Manhattan Municipal Building, which is the largest government building in the world, which apparently has 1 million square feet of office space. And then when we get to the actual store, it has a beautiful old-fashioned facade. Now, as you walk in, what you'll notice is that their focus is on international literature. There are several display tables that are very inviting and showing off all the international fiction. Then if you go to the back of the room, there's a stationery section, and I'll show you at the end which one of these journals I decided to buy. Now, on the same floor, there is a lovely cafe with the exposed brick walls and the wooden beams on the ceiling. Then you take the stairs to go upstairs. So upstairs you have a section that is mostly dedicated to certain fields, like for example, photography, cooking, or different fields. Now there's a huge section dedicated to art, which is that entire wall by the window. And there's also a very large section for plays and poetry. I think that poetry section is probably the largest I've ever seen in a bookstore. Then on the other side, what you have is basically they've broken up the fiction section into separate countries. So the first one you'll notice is French literature that has its own shelves, and then it just keeps going with all the different countries. You'll notice, of course, Russian literature, which has all your usual suspects like Dostoevsky and Tolstoy. And then there's a section where I spent quite a bit of time, which is the British literature section, which interestingly is separate from the Irish literature section. So in other words, you kind of have to know with this type of bookstore what you're looking for ahead of time before you get there so that you'll be able to find it. So if you want to see what I got from this bookstore, I got Scenes of Clerical Life by George Eliot, which I really like this cover. And of course, George Eliot is one of my favorite authors, so I was really glad to see that. And then I got Capo by Alexander Tisma, which I knew nothing about. And I found this in the Eastern European section. This is actually a Hungarian novelist, but I didn't realize that this is the third in a trilogy. So I'm going to have to track down the other two because I wouldn't want to start with the third one. But anyway, it looked interesting and I love the cover. And then in terms of the stationery section, I got this cute notebook which has lines on the inside. And I may use this for my YouTube channel so I can jot down all my ideas. Now, in between the two bookstores, I did stop by the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And I have to say, the room with the French painters was really quite an experience. I loved the Monet paintings. There's one called the Manaport, which is this arch right on the beach that I thought was beautiful. And then the other one that I really liked was the haystacks in the snow. That was lovely. And of course, they had some Cézanne paintings. And the one that caught my eye was the house with the cracked walls. I just thought that was beautiful. And the frame itself was beautiful as well. So anyway, on to the next bookstore. So the next bookstore I went to is called Albertine. Albertine is on the Upper East Side. And this is a very interesting bookstore because it's a small French bookstore located within the French embassy. So as you approach the entrance of the building, you'll see the flag of France in the front. And when you walk in, there's a beautiful ceiling and a statue. Past the statue, you'll see a glass door, and that's the entrance of the actual bookstore. Now, the first thing you notice is they have a display table close to the entrance with French books, but they've been translated into English. So the entire display table is all translated French books, which is nice because even if you don't speak any French, you can walk in there and look at all these French authors' books. Then you, of course, have an extensive section of French fiction, and they have a little bit of a mix of modern fiction with classic literature in there. Now, the one that I always look for when I go in there is Marcel Proust, and they did have quite a few of his books from the In Search of Lost Time series, and I'll show you at the end which one I got. So then from there, you take the stairs and go upstairs. Along the staircase, you'll notice a painting of Marcel Proust, as a matter of fact. And as soon as you get upstairs, you look up and notice this amazingly beautiful blue ceiling, which is a zodiac map. And I think that's the signature touch for this bookstore, is that ceiling. Then they have the cutest little kids book nook where you can sit and read a book to your child. Then they have a children's book section with a lot of kids' books in French, and I recognize some of the books from my childhood there. Then they have a graphic novel section. I like the layout because as you're browsing through books, you can also look out the window and see the little courtyard of the embassy, which is rather unique. Now, when you go back outside, you'll notice this golden statue of the little prince sitting right there, which is so unique. And a lot of people come and have their picture taken with the little prince. So I wanted to show you what I got from that bookstore. So this is part 2 of In Search of Lost Time. So last year I read part 1, and I wasn't able to find it at Albertine because I had been there looking for part 1 and they had all of the books except for part 1. So I ended up ordering it online. But this time I was looking for part 2 and they did have it. So I'm not sure when I'll be able to get to this, but I'm glad that at least I have it. So that's it, guys. Let me know in the comments if you have been to New York City. Have you been to those specific bookstores? And if you did go, what would you be looking for? Till next time, happy reading!